Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am, Deborah Beauvais, as I always say, founder and owner of the syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. And if you're tuning in for the first time, we would love for you to tune in the future as well. And a little bit about us, we are in our 19th year. We are Boston-based, and we have all the bells and whistles where you can listen to us all over the world, wherever you are. And we even have listenership in Iran, and I'm just curious about that because I thought they closed things down there. But we are available wherever you are. You can ask Alexa to play Dream Vision 7 radio network. We are also a fully producing station, and you can, after streaming live, you can find us on about 45, 50 different podcast directories or platforms. So I'm excited about my show tonight because we have excellent guests. We welcome best-selling author, master life coach Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino, and licensed psychotherapist and grief specialist Dr. Katie Eastman. And we're discussing that peace begins with each of us. Every person matters. Every voice has value, and no one has to walk this journey alone. Those are their words, and we're going to be talking about their new book that was released in April by Health Communications, Inc. and Simon & Schuster. The book is the Peace Guidebook, How to Cultivate Hope, Healing, and Harmony for the Good of Humankind. And they're just so much in alignment with what we do with Dream Vision 7. So Elizabeth is founder of the Best Ever You Network, host of the Best Ever You Show, a top-ranked podcast with over 5 million global downloads, a master life coach and best-selling author. She is widely recognized as one of America's leading voices in personal development, leadership, and mindset transformation. Co-founder Dr. Katie Eastman is a nationally respected grief and change expert with over 3 decades of experience helping people turn heartbreak into healing, trauma into transformation. A psychotherapist, master grief coach, organizational consultant, and co-founder of Recreate Coaching and Counseling. Dr. Katie brings deep emotional insight, spiritual awareness, and practical tools to life's most profound challenges. And she's trained, which I love, the integration of psychology and spirituality, because we are spiritual first and human next, and balancing all that while we're on the earth is quite a trick. So without further ado, welcome Elizabeth and Katie.
Thank you so much for having us. We're absolutely delighted to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, and we should put out the number because this is a live show. Bob is in the house. You can call in, everyone, 833-220-1200. So, ladies, we can talk probably forever around peace, love, kindness, and all of that. One of the things I wanted to first ask you both, starting with Elizabeth, what happened in your life that you arrived to a place that wanted to, you're inspiring everyone with all the work you've done with your books, but how did this project start, and what happened in your life that brought you to this place?
Well, thank you for asking that. I think the major point in my life was when I was pregnant, 6 months pregnant with our son Cameron, and I had a food allergic reaction and was resuscitated. And I think that started everything off. My father had a series of strokes, and fast forward a little bit, when our littlest child entered first grade, I thought I would go back and go to work. And I was there for about a year, and I'm a mom of 4 boys at that time. I was in an office with 4 men at that time fighting, and I closed my door and wrote down the words, "Best Ever You." And that kicked it all off. So just a series of things, but the moment Best Ever You was born, and books and the podcast and everything was that moment in that office.
Mm. So the allergy reaction was a large piece in what brought you today, because I was reading that you're a leading advocate for food allergy awareness, and you've actually had multiple life-threatening reactions. So
yes, I've had a couple brushes with death, for sure.
Yes. So I think that's all incorporating and making a difference with what you're doing, which is so honorable. And you're a model as well, which, looking at your pictures, I am not surprised. So
thank you.
You're beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And so now with Katie, how did you get involved in, I can see the work that you have been doing, again, is making a difference, because so many people, I don't think there's a family out there that hasn't experienced grief, some deeper grief than others. But how did you come about to go along with Elizabeth in this new book?
Well, my journey begins way back in college when I actually read the book, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book on death and dying. And I met her. And she became my mentor. And so she was very much an informer of my entire life's work. And I have always believed and seen in people's stories how loss can lead to learning and growth. And then when I met Elizabeth, we had that in common, because Best Ever You is all about that. It's all about finding out what your challenges are in life and rising up to be your best during those challenges and in spite of those challenges, because they make you stronger and they make you better. And so when we met, we clicked. And then we raised our children, and we had a space of time away from each other. And then when we reconnected, we both said, well, what does the world need? And we both agreed, peace. So we started to write a book about peace.
Beautiful. Did you realize, Katie, hold that thought. Did you realize that Dr. Bernie Siegel adored Elizabeth, and she was his mentor as well?
No, I did not know that. Wow.
Yes,
there are so many people. Oh, wow. Yes.
He talks of her. He's actually been with us. He's been with us for like 15, 17 years. He's not doing any shows any longer because he's 94. And but so many of his shows include his memories about her and what she really did for him. So it's neat to hear it from you. So I thank you for that. Elizabeth,
thank you.
What were you? You're welcome. Elizabeth, what were you going to share?
Yeah, sorry, I was piggybacking on what Katie was saying. After we met, we wrote a book back then, and it's a Hay House book, so we're Hay House authors. It's called Percolate, Let Your Best Self Filter Through. And in that book, towards the end of it, we started talking about peace, and I think the Peace Guidebook almost sort of picks off where that left off and carries everybody forward into today's moments of desperately needing peace.
Yes. And do you feel as though how would I say it, Do you feel the society needs more peace now today than, say, back in the 70s with the war in Vietnam? Do you think things have changed?
I can tackle that one. Yeah, because I'm the old lady here. I really think there's some similarities because there was a different kind of anxiety then during Vietnam. There was certainly anxiety around, is your child going to get called up? Are you going to get called up? There was anxiety around the protesting. So there's similarities, but at the same time, one of the things we write about in the book is moral fatigue. And that is a really tough thing for people when they feel helpless around their moral values and their own say about how those get played out in the world. And I think that's one of the reasons we love this book, because it gives people tools to feel empowered. And back in the time of Vietnam, the empowerment came from protesting, and it came from speaking, and it came from arguing and speaking out, very similar to today. But this is much more an approach that we didn't have back then. At least I don't remember it. I was younger, but still, I don't remember that anyone had those kinds of practical tools about how to talk to one another if they disagreed about Vietnam.
Right. I'm so glad that you addressed that with the morals, because it's all about what is missing in this day and age now with the administration between the morals and values. And it's not inclusive, and it's not kind. And then what you're explaining that's different is exactly true. So many people are struggling how to balance that. Even those that are, like Marianne Williamson, who's very well balanced in spirituality, yet we're looking at this whole situation that really takes the value and respect away from the human being. Elizabeth?
I think that's what we're trying to help people recover by reminding us all that peace isn't reserved for somebody else. It's not reserved for somebody overseas or for diplomats or for government officials or anything like that. Right. But it's for us individually. And it's not something that we wait for, but actually what we're saying is that it's something that we must practice in every moment, maybe.
Right. I agree. And when you're doing what you're explaining, you're actually eliminating fear. And I'm all about the love for self, love for others, unity, consciousness, so that when you're in that peace energy, you're actually able to release that fear, where so many people have fear over what is going to happen, all this and that. But it's really so important to cultivate the peace, love, and all, because love will always rise, love will always win, because that's who we are. That's how we were created. So I get all caught up in all this, the energy of all this, and that's why I'm so excited to have you both on, because you're feeding that collective with what we need. We need to elevate the love, kindness, and the peace, and it all starts within, as you've said. So let's talk about these 10 transformational principles. Would you like to divide that up between the two of you and tell us a little bit about each one?
Sure. Elizabeth, you want to start? You do the first 5?
Absolutely. The first one is, and we'll be brief too. We won't go on and on. But presence is actually being peaceful. The second one is potential, which is believing in peace. The third one is patience, which is trusting the pace of peace. The fourth is practice, where we're practicing peace. And the fifth is passion, where we're fueling peaceful action.
Actually, why don't you just keep going because you've got all the definitions right in front of you.
I do. The sixth one is purpose, which is embodying peace. The seventh is positivity, which is exuding peace. The eighth one is perseverance, which is persisting for peace. Ninth is partnership, uniting for peace. And the 10th is peace itself, where we claim peace. And I think one of the things that goes with all 10 of those principles is the Percolate Peace Project. I heard you say collective, and it made my ears perk up because that's exactly what we're trying to do, is gather people and really log in those moments of peace or a peaceful promise or a random act of kindness over on percolatepeace.com.
Okay, so that's the project.
Yes.
That's the project. And the project is based on what the book really says, which is that peace is a practice. It's not something that it's not the absence of war. It's not when we show up in a different way. It's constantly committing to act a certain way to lift someone else up, to make a difference in the life of someone else. Those acts, that commitment we make to ourselves to be peaceful and to help other people, that is what leads to peace.
Right. When you think about it, if in families, because families have disagreements, that if you're elevated in that respect, where you're constantly fighting with your own family members, there can't be peace, right? You have to be resonating in peace within in order for the world to change what we would like to be in. And I think some people don't really get that. They feel as though it's all part of the same. But you address that. Can you actually be angry inside, and yet can we create peace from there, from that space?
Well, we talk about the fact that we all lose it. We call it lose it from time to time. But the important thing is, do we come back? And we have a preamble of peace in our book at the end. We believe in honoring the dignity of all human beings. We envision a world where all people are respected and valued. We hold the hope of a future where borders of the heart no longer exist and everyone feels safe, seen, and heard. That's our vision. Let your presence be your practice. Let your compassion be your cause. Let your life be proof that not only is peace possible, but it's probable. And it begins with all of us. And it begins now, which means that even when you show up at a family dinner and there's a conflict, it's not that you don't have a conflict or you don't lose it, but it's how do you recover?
Right.
And how you respond, maybe. Maybe it is a moment for pausing, where you learn a technique where you pause and you don't have a huge family fight, but instead you have a compassionate conversation. So we're all about that too. I remember when we sat down to write this book and we thought, okay, peace, it's a huge topic. How are we going to do this exactly?
Yes.
And I said the same thing you did. I said, Katie, how are we going to do this? I mean, we have neighbors even that are fighting over shrubbery, a shrub, and they're like lawyers involved with a shrub, or whatever, in our own lives we have divorce conflict or sibling conflict or parent conflict or work conflict. There's conflict for sure, and I think what our book teaches us, and I think if you talk to Katie a little bit more, I kind of put the layup in here for you, Katie, to take it over here. But it's so much more powerful to implement the pause, breathe, and choose. And when you choose to respond with peace in mind. And we use that all the time, don't we, Katie?
We do, and I, as a therapist, I use it constantly. And I've used many of the tools in this book about conflict resolution, about compromise, about, we have a concept in here about a bridge, and how when couples disagree with each other, it's like putting weight on a bridge, and you have to take the weight off, or the bridge will collapse. And there's really practical parenting tips in here about how to talk to your child peacefully. I've used almost all of them in my psychotherapy practice, and I can honestly say they work.
Right. Especially if you're making it a habit to call on that instead of falling back on what the belief system you've grown up with for 30 years or 40 years, things like that. So
Correct.
It's really retraining our minds, because our minds really run the show. So we need to repattern, as they say, or reprogram. Yes. Well, we actually are up on a break. So everyone listening, don't go away. We have so much more with these lovely ladies and their book. And to get in touch, you can go on the site besteveryou.com, just as it sounds, all one word, besteveryou.com. And the other one is percolatepeace.com, just as that sounds, percolatepeace.com/Peace Guidebook. And I think everyone should order one and have in their home and share it and then talk about it, so it'll be a topic that is just norm. It's the norm when you get together that we're talking about peace. All right, so we'll be back in a moment.
Experience a different yet profound healing with Reconnective Healing. Includes yet expands beyond any and all known forms of energy healing. The Reconnective Healing spectrum is comprised of the full healing and evolutionary continuum of energy, light, and information. It allows for healings that are not just physical, not just mental, not just emotional, yet go beyond that to bring healing that includes the evolution of your very being and essence. Deborah Beauvais, trained and certified by world-renowned Dr. Eric Pearl, offers appointment hours at Seekonk Family Chiropractic in Seekonk, Massachusetts. For questions or to set up both distance or local sessions, call Deborah at 508-431-1959. Again, 508-431-1959. Or go to lovebyintuition.com. That's lovebyintuition.com.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to DreamVision7Radio.com.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first-grade teacher Caitlin Royd DeBellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowd-funded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids Children's Book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back, and we are talking with Elizabeth Hamilton-Guarino as well as Dr. Katie Eastman, and they are authors of the book, The Peace Guidebook, How to Cultivate Hope, Healing, Harmony for the Good of Humankind. And it's produced by Health Communications Inc. and Simon & Schuster. This is a live show. Bob is in the house, as I mentioned. He can put you right through. Give us a call, and you can talk with either Elizabeth or Katie, and it's 833-220-1200. So I wanted to just mention some of the words that you have. Peace is not passive. It's a personal, powerful, everyday practice. And you also have said that you actually challenge the belief that peace is passive or only possible during calm moments. Instead, they present peace as an active daily practice, one that can be cultivated through anything, really, grief, change, burnout, and uncertainty. So say there's someone out there, well, there's many out there that they don't know where to turn first. What would you suggest? Either one of you, Elizabeth and Katie, or one or the other, what works?
Send it to Katie.
Okay. The first thing we say is a peaceful pause, because the brain does not act on what happens immediately, because the brain has to have time to reset and to be able to be calm. Because when you're in a crisis, your brain only takes in so much information, and then it just shuts down, and you don't hear anything else. So a peaceful pause is hugely important to reset your mind, your body, your spirit, your emotions, so that deep breath. And I always say, breathe in peace, breathe out love 3 times, and that 30 seconds will give you a reset. Then when you're able, you talk and you think about, what's my next step? Well, it's always, who can help me? Who can help me? What do I need that I can't do for myself? And I think people forget to ask that question, and oftentimes being peaceful comes when you pause long enough to figure out, what do you need?
Right.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, and I think also that it's just so important to remember that the world needs us all. We're all so unique and gifted in different ways and so forth. And I think people forget that. And I'm not sure people are really in tune with their purpose. And so we have a whole chapter in the book on connecting with your purpose. A lot of times people think their purpose is something like writing a book or being a singer or something like that. And actually, your purpose for being here can be much more than that. And so we really help people talk about their chosen purpose, their external purpose, and maybe even their spiritual purpose in being here. And we talk about the little P and the big P, don't we, Katie?
Yes, and we talk about showing up with love. And sometimes when people don't know what to do or what to say to help someone else, remember that. Just show up.
Right.
Just show up.
Right.
That's part of being peaceful.
Yes. I mean, just a hug for someone that's going through a tough time, if that's something that they embrace. And then I think it's important, when you see something to that someone has done or wearing even to compliment them, so that you're filling them up with love. And then when they're in that energy, they're more apt to share it, and they're more apt to retain it and look for more. But I think that's a big thing when someone notices something that you've done, and addresses it and say, wow, what a job you've done. Because we all need that. We all need, it's not adoration, I don't think. It's just letting that person know that they have value. And I think that's something that many of us, especially women, with society and the way we're still trying to elevate. We're still trying to be seen. We're still trying to be heard. And I believe that, and let me ask you this, I believe that we are in this chaotic world that we have right now, that we're in a transformation, and we are, and women will rise, not to take over, but to balance, the divine feminine with the divine masculine. How do you both feel about that, and what is your input?
It's funny, I
absolutely agree with you. Yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
We both do. It's funny. I just had a conversation with somebody about that today, and how important it is for to almost like band together as women. And what we were talking about was the Maine Women's Conference today, and the Peace Guidebook is going to be featured at that conference. We're giving away 400 copies of the Peace Guidebook.
Oh,
and
wow.
I connected, it's a big deal, and I connected a woman-owned business. There's a woman who's coming in to redo my kitchen counters, and she owns the whole business, and it's all women in the business. And so I called the Maine Women's Conference, and I'm like, hey, you need this women-owned business for your women's conference. And everybody on the phone call was like, there we are, there's women percolating peace and all of this stuff. And I think women in particular, and I'm a mom of 4 boys, mind you. I have 4 boys. They are 25, 27, 29, and 31, and a husband.
Whoa.
And, so I'm surrounded. It's like a frat house in here sometimes. And the animals are all girls. But, the importance of women connecting with other women. You can't trade a relationship like Katie and I have for anything. It's so raw, honest, compassionate, loving. It's just so different than anything. And I think a lot of women don't have that, and they're looking in social media and they see all these women at a conference and they're like, wait, what about me? And we need to make sure we stop and we really pay attention to the women in our life, because there's a whole, I'm going on and on here for a minute, Katie, sorry. There's a whole group of women that is raised to be mean to each other even. I mean, my generation is vicious. I graduated from high school in 1988. That's the mean girl phase. And I remember being so nice to everybody and people being mean to me. And I said the other day on a thing, I'm like, we need shirts that say, don't be mean to me, or something that we wear around. But Katie, sorry, I went on and on there.
No, that's fine.
I think it's really important that we stay awake to the fact that there's moments that are important, and they can be just a moment. Like, I just had this most wonderful experience where at my hairdresser, and this young woman heard me say something about this book, and she said, are you an author? And I said, yes. And she said, tell me about your book. And she was so excited. Now, I could have been in a hurry. I could have dismissed her. I could have walked away. I could have not taken the time, but I didn't. I made it a point of getting her information. We've been texting. She's so excited. She really wants to become an author. That's a moment. That's a peace-filled moment where I had an opportunity to lift up another woman. And she's probably like 20-something. And it was so important to just pay attention, to stay awakened to her. And I think a lot of times we get moving so fast, we do not wake up. And we write about that in the book. We call it Wake Up. You know, people, we all need to wake up and stay awake. There's these precious moments, and you can change a life. And that's what we mean by little P. You know, you can change a life in a moment like that.
You can make people not feel sad and alone, and so many of those emotions that we get going on if we you know, don't have other people or whatever. Loneliness is a huge epidemic everywhere. But, you know, earlier in the conversation, by the way, I love your children's book that was advertised. I really want to talk to you about that so bad. But on the commercial break, your children's book was amazing. Oh, yeah. So anyway, but you said hug. You said the word hug. And Katie and I, if you meet us in person, it's like handshake. Oh, heck no, we're hugging you. So be prepared. But and Katie's like 6 feet tall, and I'm more like 5'3" on a big hair day. So you know, you pick who you need your hug from. But the other thing is, what I wanted to say about hug was, my dad was a stroke survivor from 2004 all the way to 2018. And when he died, I was back here in Maine getting ready for his funeral, and I happened to be up at the grocery store, and I was like crying, sobbing over the pears. And they were really beautiful pears. It wasn't them. It was just me in that moment. Something triggered something, and I was crying. And again, 5'3" and a big hair day, an older lady, maybe like, you know, 80, 85, older lady, shorter than I am, said, "Oh, sweetheart, can I give you a hug?" And I'm like, "Yes, please. Yeah, I'll take it," you know, kind of thing. And as she was hugging me, she goes, "Oh, my love, which one of your parents just died?" I'm like, "How do you know that? I've never seen you before. I don't know you. How do you know that?" And I said, "My dad just died." And she goes, "It's just unmistakable. I'm just in tune with you for some reason." And I said, "So what should I do?" And she said, "You're going to put one paw in front of the other and keep going." And I'm like, "Wait, what did you just say to me?" And she said, "Yeah, put one paw in front of the other and keep going." And I'm like, "No." And not that my dad was a little old lady at that moment, but maybe. When I had visited my dad before he died, I went home for Christmas, and he said, "Ask me anything. I'm not going to be here next Christmas. I'm in the process of dying and all these things." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to take that you're truthful there and you mean it and everything." And so I asked him all these questions, and I said, "What am I going to do without you?" And he said, "You're going to put one paw in front of the other and keep going." Wow. And it's just, and if you know Katie and me, we both love animals, cats. My dad loved cats. There's an intuition about us that is hard to describe. And we keep learning about it as we live. But we are both very intuitive. We were both put on the planet really, really in tune with others. Overly, maybe even, right, Katie?
Yeah, both of us. Absolutely, both of us, yeah. We have a sensibility and a sensitivity that we pick up on things that other people might not. Yeah.
Right, because you're in the present moment and you're feeling the different energies, and also too, if you've experienced as you live longer, you experience so many things that you can feel that. But that, you know, the intuitive is sitting there for all of us if we take the time to just tune in and listen. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth, because that I just explaining and telling the story, I just know that she was your dad, you know. You know, his message is coming through her. So that must have fed your soul, and it doesn't change anything of the trauma of what's happening, but it does lighten, and because you know that they're still there. They may not be in the physical, but they're still there, watching everything.
And I think it's so important to not make fun of people for that. You know, there's a people are so afraid to express themselves deep down in what they're thinking and feeling for fear of being made fun of or disbelief or whatever it is. Katie, and I'm so grateful for Katie because she's taught me so much about myself over the years as well, because she's got that incredible wealth of expertise in a completely different area, and it is so wonderful to just be able to say, hey, this happened, and have her go, well, that's da-da-da-da-da-da, you know, like you just did. And you learn as you go, and you might otherwise not be comfortable on a radio show telling that story. And it's taken me a while to be comfortable, hasn't it, Katie, to tell things like that?
I think people are very, very reticent about being vulnerable. Vulnerability, I must say this 100 times a week. Vulnerability is really the essence of allowing the messages to come from your body, your mind, your spirit, and your emotions when they're trying to tell you something. But you have to stop long enough, and we talked about that as being presence in the Peace Guidebook. And if we don't stop long enough and listen, then we miss those opportunities to be vulnerable and learn about ourselves. And I call that the ripple of compassion, because that ripples out. And that's what the Peace Guidebook is all about. It's about rippling out peace.
Yes.
And, you know, one of the things that you want to do, like we're on a book tour, and one of the things that I hope everybody on this planet does is stop, pause, and sign up to hear Katie speak, because it's so wonderful. She is it's the best 40 minutes or hour or whatever. You can even go on for 2 if you want, Katie, but, you know, it's such a powerful moment to hang out with Katie and hear things. And I think one of the things, like I'm almost crying over here, one of the things that I'm most grateful for in writing this book and this process and having known her for so long now is that I kind of feel at peace with myself too. And I think she feels at peace with herself too. And, you know, we bobble around a little bit, but, you know, by teaching it, we've learned it. And by learning it, we're able to teach it. And other people, in all of that, we still have room for people to teach us things.
Exactly.
And I think that is so fun and powerful.
It is. It is.
Oh, I love being a lifelong learner. I think being a lifelong learner is the best.
Exactly.
It's the best. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Every moment. Yes.
Yeah. It's all good. And so with that, we are taking our last break. Everyone, I'll give the phone number out again. I know you're listening and digesting and processing. It's 833-220-1200, and Bob will put you right through if you're brave enough to call in. We'll be back in a moment.
Experience a different yet profound healing with Reconnective Healing. Includes yet expands beyond any and all known forms of energy healing. The Reconnective Healing spectrum is comprised of the full healing and evolutionary continuum of energy, light, and information. It allows for healings that are not just physical, not just mental, not just emotional, yet go beyond that to bring healing that includes the evolution of your very being and essence. Deborah Beauvais, trained and certified by world-renowned Dr. Eric Pearl, offers appointment hours at Seekonk Family Chiropractic in Seekonk, Massachusetts. For questions or to set up both distance or local sessions, call Deborah at 508-431-1959. Again, 508-431-1959. Or go to lovebyintuition.com. That's lovebyintuition.com.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to dreamvision7radio.com.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first grade teacher Caitlin Royd DeBellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowd-funded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids Children's Book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back. I want to give out the websites again, besteveryou.com, just as it sounds, besteveryou.com. And the other one is percolatepeace.com /Peace Guidebook. And while you're checking that out, think about the gifts that are coming up. That's what I do with a lot of things with my family is, if there's something that I really like, I will order a few of them, and then I have gifts for the future. So think about that, and then you're spreading the wealth of peace and love, and that's a good deed, and it always comes back to you. So think about ordering a few of them. So in this last segment, and it's going quickly, would you like to talk more about the book, or would you like to focus on the movement and how people can get involved in that movement? Elizabeth?
I think the movement is great, and I think that one of the things also that we didn't talk about maybe are the children.
Yes.
And we've got a pretty powerful story about that. And I can't be on here without also using our phrase, we feel like sometimes we're dolphins in a shark tank doing water ballet. That was the other thing that we always say. But I think that somehow we'll combine that all together. But, Katie did a really cool thing for the book. And I'll let her, talk about that. But, interviewing kids was a really neat moment.
Yeah, I'm a child therapist, and one of the things that I really value in the world is the voice of children. So when we were talking about how we're going to write a book about peace, I said, well, we got to know what kids think about peace. And what was fascinating is we interviewed adults and we interviewed kids, and they had very different answers. Adults had answers like peace is absence of war, peace is absence of conflict, but kiddos were like peace is being a good person, peace is being kind, peace is being a good friend. And so they were able to be internally what peace is. Adults were more external, but kids were more internal. And I thought that was absolutely fascinating because that's been my experience. Is that the kiddos really want to be good people, but they may not have the skills, they may not have the parenting, they may not, any number of things can be going on in their lives. But when it really comes down to it, they're happiest when they're good people, and
Correct.
they want to be peaceful. And so I loved the interviews with kids. I just thought, and the book, we included kids on purpose in the end of the book. It ends with children.
And it ends with Chase and Zach Hartman, who began a service project called Zach's Planet in 2017 to help the planet in their local community, and it evolved into a project called Eco Brothers. And they were shocked in their moment to learn that 300 million books are thrown away every year in the garbage. And so they started collecting them and handing them out with toys and other things and so forth. And they're just two incredible boys, very, very service-oriented boys. And so to close the book out with them just meant so much to us because they're our future.
Yes, they are. And they're still, they're still not tarnished with the adult, what the adults may be feeding them. They still have, I always say, they still have the light within them, so they're closer to all those values that a spirit would have versus being in the human condition. So I love the children, exactly, Katie, are our teachers and our future.
There's your sentence.
Yeah.
Yep. I wrote a song called "Children Are Our Teachers." Listen to the children. Yep.
Oh, gee, we wrote a song too. You'll have to
You're going to have to combine songs.
Yes. But that's the whole thing. And I actually have the Kids for Love show, and I'm not taking the time as of late to have new episodes, but it's all about. But I will.
Good.
It's all about raising the awareness of these young kids, as young as 6 years old, starting nonprofits, and it's everything from backpacks to food. I'm going to have this young little chef on the Cape. He's on the Cape Cod on the show because he's trying to feed, in his way, the homeless. So it's amazing how their minds work, and then as time goes, we forget about all the values and the morals that we were talking about at the beginning of the show, and you get thrown into everyday life with the challenges and such. But then you have a peace book come along the way and open up your heart and light in your mind, and there you go. So we only have a couple of minutes. What would you like to leave the listeners with? And each one of you, Katie and Elizabeth, take turns.
Sure.
Okay.
So I would like to leave the listeners with the Percolate Peace Project, and it was started a while ago, and we've kind of resurrected it. My son Quade Guarino used it as his senior project in high school. And things like medical bills have been paid off with it, and he worked at McDonald's, so he would do free McDonald's for people, pay for it, and so it was a random act of kindness type project. It has since morphed into a website where you can go on and log either a moment of peace, a peaceful promise, or a random act of kindness, and we're trying to gather 1 million or more people in doing that. And I was hoping, Katie, you might touch on Matthew Casalato and the Peaceful Promise, because that is such a cool person to join in.
Matthew wrote this beautiful book called The Power of Promise, and we all got together and said, we really need to make a collective promise to promote peace. So we did, and we are, and because when you make a promise, you're engaging your heart and your soul and your body and your mind and all of you, and it's much more intensively committed. And so we made this collective promise to promote peace. And one of the things that I wanted to read before we go is from our foreword. Desmond Tutu's daughter wrote our foreword. And for those of you who don't know who Desmond Tutu was, he was an apartheid advocate. And he was jailed, he was ridiculed, he and his family went through so much. So his daughter writing this foreword was huge for us. And I love what she said. She said, peace is not something we achieve alone. It's something we become together. This guidebook is not only a manual, it's a companion, holding your hand as you navigate the terrain of hurt, hope, and healing. It reminds us that the journey to peace begins not on a distant battlefield, but in the inner landscape of our hearts and our homes. Peace is nurtured in how we speak to our children, how we forgive ourselves, and how we return again and again to love when fear tempts us to retreat. And I just love her words. And she loves the Peace Guidebook. It's very profound. And her foreword, I cry every time I read it. Because coming from a family that was just went through so much hell in their advocacy and never, ever gave up on committing to peace. It just is so powerful. So I wanted to end with that.
Yes, and that's, and you mentioned about A Power of Promise. Is that actually a children's book?
No,
it's a book for adults.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's called Harness Your Promise Power.
Okay.
And it's all about him having a moment with his mother where he promised her that he would write his self-help books. Matthew Casalato is a former, I don't want to misspeak about him. I don't have his bio in front of me, but he's a speechwriter, for like Leon Panetta and others. Very high-level speechwriter and so forth. And so he's got a self-help side of him that's showing itself in these books. But he promised his mom he would do things, and he's getting promises from all over the world, and just proving that we don't break our promises to ourselves. And one of our dear friends, Jack Canfield, wrote a beautiful foreword in his book. He wrote the foreword for his book, and it's absolutely outstanding. So between our two books, which kind of go hand in hand, the forewords are written by beautiful, beautiful souls, and the books just complement each other so much. Don't you think, Katie?
Absolutely, and I can't say enough that the promise you make yourself, the commitment you make to yourself to live peacefully, is a very powerful thing that ripples out to others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to read some of these. Oh, I can't. You do have to go. I was going to read like a couple of the promises that were made on the website.
Oh, I'm
we
sorry,
adopted a dog yesterday. Great one.
Sorry. Well, we have to fly. I'm so sorry, but it's been a joy and an honor to have the both of you on the show. And for everyone that's listening, listen again and pass the show on to everyone. And buy the book, buy a few, percolatepeace.com/Peace Guidebook until we come together in unity again. Au revoir.
Are you seeking a clearer path to love? Then tune in to the Love by Intuition show next week. All designed to your highest good. To contact Deborah Beauvais, owner of Empowered Connections, call her at 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or link on to lovebyintuition.com. Remember, we are all one, and we are all part of the miracle of love.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.